From premise to published week 22. Now, this one almost didn't get recorded on time. It's been a very busy week, but I think I'm going to manage to squeeze it out. And I'm going to try and make this one genuinely quick. It's going to be fast paced and to the point because today I want to talk about pacing. It's been something that I've been thinking about all through writing this current book because one of the main complaints or critiques about my last book, Demonology and the Art of Pickling Demons, was the pacing. And those critiques, they were accurate. It is breakneck paced, which is, for the record, too fast. You shouldn't be breaking readers' necks.
No fluff writing advice. Cut the fluff.
So when I think about it, there's a few reasons why I think demonology was past. Gee, what's going on with my words? There are a few reasons why I think demonology was paced that way. One, I think my natural writing style is fairly straightforward, to the point, minimal fluff, which does create that sort of feeling of a faster pace. And I'm not going to change my style and start writing, really slow burn, long, hundreds of thousands of word novels, but I can rein it in a bit. I think the second reason was at that time, I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself as a writer, and I didn't think readers would want to stick along or stick around for a longer story. I'm sure when I was writing it, I was just thinking, all right, let's get to the good bits. Let's, don't slow down, keep it going, keep the momentum going. Let's get these readers to the end of the book so they can put it down and move on with their lives. But it turns out, for the most part, that thinking was probably wrong because people have said they wished it was longer, they wished it was slower paced. And I did have some scenes. There's a lot I wouldn't change as far as the structure goes, but I did have this idea for sort of a side plot. If you haven't read the book, you probably won't know what I'm talking about. But in the second half of the book, I wanted to have this side plot where there was this sort of group of anti-demon activists that the protagonist and his demons had to deal with, and that movement is mentioned, I think, once in passing, but it never became an actual part of the plot. And if I write a sequel, that will be a massive part of that plot. But in hindsight, I could have and should have stuck that in there, and it would have solved not all, but some of the pacing problems. And another reason for the fast pacing was, again, it was somewhat deliberate. When I wrote this book, I was trying to make it as accessible as possible, and I didn't want it to be a long novel. I wanted it to be one that I could hand to people and say, look, it's 100,000 words, so it's not small, but I didn't want it to be a big fat brick of a book. And I pretty much discovery wrote that entire book, but I did have my middle sorted out. I did know where I was headed there, and I did have an ending in mind. So I was just filling in the blanks there, and I did skip over a lot of what I thought was, side quests and busy work and whatnot. But it turns out, yeah, for the sake of pacing, you need a bit of that stuff. So if you are writing a book and you have a really fast paced sequence, or especially maybe it's in the middle of the book where it's really intense for a big chunk of time, it's almost like you need to. Once that's all over, you need to give readers room to breathe and room to process what's just happened. If you go from fast paced section to fast paced section to fast paced section, it's almost mind boggling. And then on the flip side, if it's all slow and the build up to those fast paced sections is too slow, readers can lose interest. And I've read a few books like that lately where it's like the slow paced sections feel a little too long. And what I really like is when an author gets it like close to, it's like you feel like, all right, I'm almost about to get bored if something doesn't happen soon. It feels like something needs to happen soon, and then bang, something happens. It's like, oh yes, you got me, you drew me back in. So I do like that. There's a bit of an art to it, though. It's not easy. It's almost like, I don't know, I'm starting to ramble now. What else did I want to talk about? Oh yeah, so with the book I'm writing now, I'm being very mindful of the pacing. It's one thing that I'm almost always thinking about when I'm sitting down to write. And with this, I am giving it room to breathe. I'm not trying to rush through scenes. I'm not trying to skip over scenes that could be important or could help, provide that, that moment to breathe. I mean, so there's always stuff happening. It's not like I'm adding a bunch of filler just to slow the pacing down or draw it out or anything like that. My only concern is because I'm letting the plot unravel or unfold. Hopefully, it doesn't unravel. It can unfold. That's what plots should do. But because I'm letting it unfold in a more steady and hopefully natural way, I've sort of had to push my inciting incident way back further than really I'd like to or where it should be. I'm not even up to writing it yet. I'm getting close, and look, I'll see where it fits within the overall plot. But in that regard, there will be a prologue that sort of hints at what's happened, which might help mitigate some of that because readers will know this thing is coming. They'll almost know what it is. They won't know exactly how it happened or anything like that. So I'm hoping that solves that problem. It won't be a completely misplaced inciting incident, but it will be, a bit further along in the story than, I usually like to kick things off a lot earlier than that, but we'll see. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and I'll just restructure. Anyway, I've done very little writing this week. Current word count is 32,928, and I did actually have it in front of me today. Go me. Yeah, but I'm hoping to get a big writing session in one day this week. We'll see. I have started, if anyone saw last week's video, that's why I've been so busy, launched the business Dream Cannon Publishing, which is basically, I'm not really a publishing company, at least not for anyone's books but mine. But I am offering my editing services, and there was a special offer in last week's video, which someone has claimed pretty much. But yeah, I guess my point is, as I do take on more and more editing work, my reading pace will slow, and that's the reading of the indie submissions that I've been getting. Most of those are text-based books. I have mentioned to people if I do start to fall behind with that, I'm trying to get through one a fortnight, which I have been succeeding at lately. But I think that reading pace will inevitably slow down. So if I do fall behind with the text-based ones, I might jump ahead to, there are a couple of audiobooks on the list. There's a film that someone submitted. Because when I sit down to read a book, or when I'm reading a book, they happen at completely different times, different situations. So even if I do jump ahead, I know it's probably not ideal to let people jump the queue, but it won't affect, if I do jump ahead to an audiobook, it's not going to affect the pace at which I'm reading the textbooks, if that makes sense, because I do them at different times anyway. All it will affect is the rate at which I get through other audiobooks, like the non-indie audiobooks that I've always got one on the go. I want to get to Mage Tank Book 2 sometime this year. Merchant Crab Book 2 has recently come out as well. So, all right, I've rambled long enough. My point about pacing is, it doesn't need to be all breakneck, crazy action all the time. It shouldn't be. At the same time, huge chunks of monotonous, tedious, boring slice of life probably isn't ideal either. If you can weave those types of scenes and sequences together in a balanced way throughout your story, it's just going to be a more enjoyable ride for the readers. Yes, I learnt my lesson. I broke a few necks with demonology, and for that, I apologize. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe. If you didn't enjoy this video, hit subscribe anyway, and hate watch my content. That's always fun.